those of you who have been in class a long time, what is it that when you watch yourself acting, do you think, oh, I really need to work on that? Because that's what we should always be working on, is strengthening whatever we feel our weaknesses are, so we don't have to feel that we have so many weaknesses. Something that you could share with us, Haas?
Sure. There's one that I'm focused on right now, and that's letting the words do the work, doing them justice, and not skipping over words that, not just saying them, but letting them really matter for what my character's objective is and what my intention is in that moment. And bringing as much authenticity to my character's point of view as I can.
I love that one. That's really, really good. Um, yeah, I like the way that you put that about letting the words do their work. The thing is that your character is choosing these particular words, and for a particular reason, a very not generic reason. They're trying to get this word to mean what they want it to mean to the other person. So the words are really our ammunition for getting what you want as your character. And the way that your character says every single word is what makes them who they are. That you're really using who your character is and their perspective and their point of view in life to change the other person. And so the words are a really important thing to concentrate on. It's what you think about whenever you're speaking. You're thinking about how to make those words more effective with the other person. When the other person's talking, you're reacting to their words. So talking back to them in your mind, you're always actively using your mind as your character. And that's what we're all working for as actors, is to actually have that kind of interaction and to constantly be in our character's mind. So that's good. That's a really good thing. And I love the way you worded it too, Haas. That's great.
Yeah, just don't judge the character. I think that's a good one. And just carry over the lessons I've learned from the last classes about just staying present. And, that goes hand in hand with not judging the character, just being in the moment with that character and not having any preconceived notions about them.
Good. I mean, you do have to have some preconceived notions as your character, because your character has a lot of preconceived notions, right? Your character sees themselves a certain way. Your character sees the world a certain way. They're not a blank slate. They have been very carefully honed by their past. So what you do need to do is figure out how your character thinks and how are they different than you. The main thing, what it means not to judge your character, is not to think outside thoughts, your own thoughts about your character, not to say, oh, he's a jerk, or he is a criminal, or he is whatever. You can't do that as an outsider looking in. Your character has definite, he judges himself in certain ways, as all of you judge yourself. In judging other people, you're judging yourself. You're judging, I'm right and they're wrong, right? So you do need to judge yourself as your character, not as the actor. Okay, does that make it clearer? Because your character has definite opinions. Your character has a definite way of seeing the world. And so I don't want you to think, oh, don't judge anything about your character, right? You got to judge very specifically as your character.
Session, I'm specifically looking to work on not punching my lines, because I have a tendency to do that, especially when I'm not in my thoughts of the character. And so I think a way to do that is to really dive into, which I'm learning a lot from Becca already, is to do character analysis and just be able to think through the thoughts of the character so that I don't punch the lines.
Good. What that means, punching the lines, is using emphasis with your body and your voice without the thought behind it. Sometimes we do punch. I'm like, come on, people. You see me, I'm punching a little bit. Come on, people. But if you go, come on, people, then you're punching without the thought behind it. You have such a natural quality, Ryan, when you're not punching. You really are a natural. However, there's a part of you that believes you need to do more than that, right? Because especially when he was in the audition class last month, and he was when he was doing a slate. This is
Yeah.
probably something, if anyone is auditioning, I need to work with you on your slates to make sure, because Ryan would do a great performance, but his slate was high.
Yeah.
and really trying to be very, very enthusiastic, rather than just greeting the casting director as a human being, saying, "Hi, how are you? I'm Ryan." So uh, it's understanding that a great performance is the most believable performance. So trying to find what's real for you is really important. What's real for your character is super important.
This is my third session, and so far it's been rather eye-opening. Just having other people being able to tell me the things that I'm doing that I'm not already aware of, so that I can work on the things that I'm not already strong at. My goal for this session is to improve my acting when I am not speaking. So maintaining those character thoughts, and giving an effective performance, even if my lips are not necessarily moving.
What you do when you're not talking is just as important as what you do when you're speaking. It's not your time to take a rest between your lines, or even just try to look like you're listening, because listening is not a passive activity. It's an active activity in which you are constantly responding to the other person with your thoughts, almost as though you're talking. So you're talking nonstop, either with your mind or with your mouth. And that is something I really strive to help everybody with. It's not a generally taught technique. It's my technique, but it works. I think everybody that has been in class can see that. They can see when the person stops thinking, stops responding, stops talking back in their mind. It's really obvious that suddenly the person stops being the character. And because if you're not thinking your character's thoughts, you're not them anymore. So I think that everybody that watches this class will be able to see the difference. Once people are memorized, which I hope everybody will be very, very soon, because you can't really act when you're not memorized. Reading is not acting. You can read and try to feel the words. That's an expressive recitation, right? But not true acting, because you can't truly be in your character's mind when you're trying to figure out what word is on the page.
Goals for this session are just some of the notes I've kind of gotten in the previous classes and really focusing on them. Some of them have been to, really make it about the other person and not act to the sky, or just really use your words to impact the other person. I want to have those at the forefront across all sessions and just keep getting better at that.
Good. What does Siobhan mean by act to the sky? He was kind of just acting, kind of acting out here, rather than saying, you got to listen to me, zeroing in on the person that you're talking to, trying to change them with your words is different than just being dramatic and kind of acting out into the universe. Okay. And that was what was happening last session, because he was doing a very dramatic scene, but he was being very dramatic out to the air until he said, "Oh, okay, I get it." And he starts to go, and that's really important. I'm talking to you. No, not them. I'm talking to you. And this is what I want to say. That is zeroing in on the person that you're talking to. That's what I mean by making your scene about the other person. This scene is about you, and you've got to do this, and I want you to do that. Okay, that's where you've got to be. And you really did such a much better job about that in the second half of last session. So I think it's a great thing for you to continue to really think about how you can use your words by zeroing in on the other person and affecting them in different places of their being with your words.
My goal for this session, because I've been away for a few weeks, I think it's going to be a challenge to get back in the rhythm of reacting to my scene partner spontaneously, line by line in the moment. Because for so long I was using those training wheels of having like this pre-thought out or very, very structured pre-written subtext. Not necessarily that was what I was always following, but it felt really forced for a while, and it just towards the end there got a little bit more spontaneous, felt a little bit more real. And I think that's one thing I really want to work on.
Yeah, the thing is about when you first start acting, at least with my technique, the whole idea of thinking your character's thoughts all the time is unnatural. It feels unnatural because naturally you think your own thoughts, and you don't have to force those. You don't have to decide what you're going to think, because your brain's going to think whatever it wants to all the time. But when you are learning to think your character's thoughts, you do need to really do a lot of preparation to figure out how do they think. And then you have to force yourself to think their thoughts instead of yours, because it's just not natural in the beginning. And it makes your brain tired, because you have to think something different with every word, and that's hard. But when you do it and you do it and you practice and you practice, it becomes easier. And it just starts to become, you start, okay, now I'm going to just invite my character in to think with my brain. And it starts to flow. And it starts to be that you can just react to the person that you're talking to. And every single thing they say makes you think something very specific. So you have to go through that process. And if your brain isn't used to doing it and you've taken some time off, you have to go back to that first, forcing yourself. And so you do need to think about what your subtext is. You have to think what you mean by aggravating, because you have to say the word aggravating, and you need to understand what your character means by that. And so it takes some genuine effort to get back into it. So I'm glad you're back, and we'll make it more fluid because you've been here and it has become a part of who you are as an actress. And hopefully it won't take too long before you're just right back to. And I'm really glad you're back, Maria. You're a joy to have in class. Everybody is. I love you all.